Hilda, I've made us some tea.
I am seriously appreciating the coziness in here right now.
Well, hello there. So today I'm going to be painting a scene from the Netflix series Hilda. This is actually from my favorite episode. Interestingly enough, it is the first one. This is where Hilda is still living out in the woods before she moves to Trollberg, and I absolutely love the aesthetic of honestly all of the episodes where she is still living out in the woods. I do like the new ones, but her little cabin in the woods is so cozy and so whimsical, and it is just lovely. So to start this painting, I am just using a thin layer of brown watercolor. And the watercolors that I'm using, I think, are technically considered vintage, but they are a Winsor Newton watercolor pan set. And yes, in case you were wondering, that is a salsa jar lid that I am mixing my paint on. I'm still kind of learning my routine for painting with watercolors. I think this is probably the second large-ish scale. As you can see, it's not really a big piece of paper, but usually if I'm going to use watercolors, it's just on a small little postcard size piece of paper. But as I've been using them a little bit more frequently lately, I'm trying to come up with a routine that will help me to paint on a larger scale with watercolors, because I do enjoy that it seems easier to just kind of open up the pan set and get started. But pre-mixing is still something that I need to do a lot. I don't know if many artists would recommend layering watercolors as much as I do. I'm used to working in acrylics where you can just kind of layer as much as you want. I used to try to learn a lot about my mediums before I used them, but it admittedly kind of took the fun out of it for a little while, and I actually went a very long time where I thought I absolutely hated watercolors until I was gifted this set. And at least with smaller scale paintings, I feel like I've been able to layer it pretty well. The paper will bow a little bit, as you can see throughout this painting session, but it wasn't too bad. And I'm pretty happy with the results. I really enjoy having very vivid earth tones in my paintings. I'm not a big fan of these washes that you'll see at the beginning stages. Of course, it all comes down to personal preference. There's nothing wrong with that by any means. But I'm going to layer my watercolors a lot in this video. So do let me know if you have any recommendations for like different kinds of paper or techniques or resources for painting with watercolors. I would love to hear them. And in case you were wondering, I think I will put all of the materials in the description below, but I believe that the paper that I'm using today is Strathmore cold press. I think it's cold press paper. The reason that I am mixing a bit of that dark color at the end of the paper is because the black that I'm using is actually from a watercolor pencil, and I don't really have a way to mix it on my palette because, this is made out of plastic, and the pencil just really scratches it up. It doesn't deposit much of the pigment, so putting it on the paper seems to be working for now until I get some maybe darker watercolor that I can use in placement of it, or maybe I'll just keep doing this. I don't know, but I would normally not recommend mixing on watercolor paper. Well, if you're trying to like use it for batch mixing, it does not work out particularly well, at least in my experience. And here's about when I realized that I didn't sketch out the logs for the fireplace. So I'm just taking a clean wet brush, wetting down the paper and kind of scrubbing at it to get some of the pigment to go away, and then I'm using a handkerchief to kind of pick up some of the water to prevent bowing as best as possible. It's still bowed. There was a little bit of warping in that area. It did flatten out eventually, so I'm not mad about it, but pre-planning is really helpful. I need to work on that. So I did end up choosing a color that was a little bit more on the orangey side, just because I wasn't able to get all of that old paint removed. I think it ended up working out pretty well, all in all. I think that the floor was probably a little more cool toned than I had originally planned, so having some more of the orangey tones in the wood that was on the ground just looked kind of nice. And I think I was able to achieve the contrast of the reference photo. I will say though that I did my best to do the original justice, but I was trying to figure out a way to pursue this scene in a way that was sort of my style. So I'm not going to use as many illustrative lines. Things are going to be a lot more brushy and textured. I just realized that I'm pretty sure I used my teeny tiny brush for a majority of this painting, which probably wasn't a super efficient use of my time, but I only have 3 watercolor brushes. Only 3. And the best quality one is this teeny tiny one. I'm kind of surprised that I didn't get annoyed with that. And this portion of the video was filmed at the end of the day. That's why we have those harsh shadows of me moving around. I tried my best to keep my head out of the way, which was an interesting experience because I was trying to like crouch down and keep my head like almost level to the painting. Very interesting experience. Do not recommend. But with that in mind, I think this actually looks pretty okay, video-wise. Did anyone else just not realize that Woodman was supposed to have fingers? I didn't think any of the non-human entities had fingers in this series. Did I just miss that entirely? Because in the reference, the hand that is holding the book has fingers, but it doesn't have there aren't any hands underneath his head. So I thought that was just kind of, I don't know, it didn't feel right to put fingers on one hand. So my Woodman in this universe just doesn't have fingers. So this is actually my favorite part of the painting, is this little TV and media stand. I didn't actually reference the original very often because I knew I wanted mine to look a little bit differently. So I added in some purples, some blues, and I actually used a lot of this Faber Castell black watercolor pencil just to kind of sharpen up the edges a little bit. But it was so satisfying to complete this. I don't think I have ever tried to paint furniture before, but it was really satisfying. I can't explain why, but it was so fun. And I actually posted a little close-up of just this little section of the painting on Instagram if you're interested, because I don't think you can see much of the details in it from this shot. But I'm really proud of just this small little portion of the watercolor. I'm happy with the whole thing, but this little section here, just it's precious to me. If you have any interest of checking it out, please do. And as we are coming to a close here, I'm working on Woodman. I'm going to actually edit this section down a lot, sorry, but I had a lot of back and forth here because I was trying to figure out what Woodman would look like in, my style. The original character design is very much reliant on, the illustration lines, and that was the one rule that I set for myself here, is that I didn't really want to use those because it's not something that would naturally occur in my work. And I wanted to really push myself to see what this would look like in my style. So I ended up doing, I think 3 or 4 different attempts here of trying to figure out a way to get some kind of brushy texture while still keeping like a good gradation, so that way you can see like the kind of halo effect that you get when sitting in front of a fireplace. And I actually ended up kind of giving up in the watercolor stage because I knew I was going to be doing some colored pencil over the whole thing before I show you the final reveal. So I ended up just kind of compromising, and I added in some like orangey tones, some yellows, and it's a very light gradation, but pretty much all the texture that I have in this character comes from using colored pencils at the very end. And one of my favorite steps is using gel pen. This is the Sakura jelly roll, which I'm pretty sure everyone has had one at some point in time. I know they used to be a really big deal. It actually works pretty well on watercolor. I've used it in illustrations in the past, and I think that sometimes the ball point doesn't always distribute particularly evenly, But in this particular circumstance, it worked super well, and it's so satisfying. I know a lot of people don't like the look of super harsh white lines, but it's my favorite part. I love doing this. Sometimes I'm not always happy with how it looks, but I love this. It's so satisfying. So I'm going to do that quite a bit on this painting. Anywhere that I don't think that I got quite enough of a highlight. I'm not really good at leaving like portions of the paper like blank so you get the white of the paper. Pre-planning. We've already discussed this. I'm not good at pre-planning. So I will probably continue to do this for a while, maybe more than necessary. And there you have it. I am going to film me peeling this tape away because, I don't know, I think it's satisfying to watch. I like it. I hope you like it. I hope you enjoyed watching this. If you got to the very end of this video, thank you. I know it is a doozy. I'm still learning how to edit videos down so that it's not like 3 hours long. But I'm always really happy to share my work. I love doing this. I am really enjoying sharing it with people. If you want to see more of my work, I have a TikTok and an Instagram where I update what I'm working on throughout the week. And I hope to show you some more artwork soon. Thank you so much. Have a wonderful day.